Yeah, hello everybody. We're back. It's AT Town Hall. We are wrapping up our conversation of everyday instructional coaching. We have one chapter left to discuss, which is chapter 7, which is influence. And then we can kind of give a bigger kind of picture about what we think about the book in general. And so let me do this. I tend to read you the little blurb that's at the front of every chapter. Influence. Coaches can use their influence to create demand for, inspire, and catalyze change. And so I will start the conversation there and say, what sticks with you from this chapter? The big takeaway from this chapter of the book, this idea of creating and inspiring a movement. See what I did there? I leaned you towards my favorite YouTube video ever, but what say you? I'll go with that. And then I'll just turn my mic off and someone else will talk. I won't turn my mic off till someone else turns theirs on. Yes, Irene, hello.
Mike, did you show us the video once, or did I see it someplace else about the person who actually leads a group is the next person to join it?
Yes, that was me. Irene, I show that video all the time. Wait a second, I'll put the link in the chat. The video is called How to Start a Movement. The man his name is Derek Sivers. It is a TED Talk. It is my favorite video of all time.
You know, you have a lot of favorite videos of all time, Mike.
This is my favorite video of all time. Work video. I could point you towards a nonsense video. I have lots of those that are favorites, but like a work video, this is.
I'd be happy to see all of those.
You don't want to see that. If you've ever noticed my browser, it has a folder on my bookmarks bar that says videos, and 90% of those are nonsense videos that I just like watching. And then there's like a nugget of work stuff in there every once in a while.
Okay.
This is a powerful one. And Irene, you got exactly the big takeaway from that video is he talks about this idea of that the leader is not as important as, Sarah, your mic's on, say it.
The first follower.
The first follower. And that's that whole idea of bringing people in. And I like that because that kind of summarizes that little blurb that I just read to you. Coaches can use their influence to create demand for, inspire, and catalyze change. You're creating a movement. You are not the movement by yourself. You are working to create the movement. You are starting it, and then you are cultivating it as it goes.
I think when we look at schools, it's the first follower in every pod. So the first follower at every school, there's the first follower. You have to get that follower per location.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to like say, oh, district office. Yes, I want to follow that. Oh.
Yeah. I think you're right, Irene. And I think that that also goes to a part of the video where he talks about this idea of that followers will mimic the first follower, not the leader. And so that goes to your point of this idea of if we have followers, if we've seen first followers in all our spots, then we'll have more reach and more possibility of people jumping on board. Because you're right, they're going to say, oh, well, so-and-so is doing that down the hall, and I want to be part of that.
So I've been watching this as I'm doing dishes along the way. This brings me to Sarah's favorite word, which is why, and making sure our people know their why. And I keep thinking about how we can't have the influence as coaches or as presenters or as consultants or whatever we want to have if it's not personal and meaningful to whoever we're speaking with. And so like even just in the first couple pages of this chapter, it talks about, making sure that they know their why. Why are we even talking about this? Why are we changing our practices? And then also into the, where are we going with this? Like, what is the vision? And then the how are we going to get there? And so again, this whole book has really echoed all of this, but it's just the importance of having these conversations and making sure we're meeting our staff or students or whoever we're coaching or whoever we're talking with where they are to help bring them along for the journey, and not just saying you have to be better, but it's what are you already doing that's great? How can we capitalize on that? Who do you already have here that can help be a resource and help carry them along the way, like link arm in arm and partner with them rather than demand something different. I really like the word influence here.
Yeah, I like that too. I think you're right, Carolyn, that idea of we don't want to be the ones prodding from behind, like, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, we want to do this. But instead, I love that that word that they use in that chapter is illuminate the why. And I love that idea of illuminate. It's such a great word. But it really brings home this idea of fostering this kind of reflective moment in the people that are part of this movement and having them own it, start to recognize what it is. Thanks, Carolyn. What else? Hi, Alyssa. That wasn't to make you talk. It was just to say hi. I just saw that you popped in and I wanted to say hi to you. And I thought that would really get you to talk, though. That was a cool move. All right, good for you. That was a power move on your part. What else? What else do we think about this? How do we do that? Going back to what Carolyn just said, what are some strategies we can use to help people recognize their why and the how, and get them to be part of this because they own it, because they are part of it, instead of it being thrust upon them or feeling like it's thrust upon them.
Sitting here waiting for words of wisdom from somebody else. It's like that watching everyone's mute button to see, like, is somebody gonna go?
That's it.
I think for us, some of it is the questions of like sitting back and like you just did, Mike, you let that awkward pause and you're not like trying to just like, okay, I'm gonna ask a question, I'm gonna jump in with the answer when nobody responds right away. And in the way that we design PD, like Mike, I experienced that Derek Sivers video is one of my very favorite videos. Anyone that knows me knows that. And I think it's how we design PD. So it's not like we're jam packing all of this content, but we're really challenging people to sit back and think about and give space to, why are you here? Why did you become a teacher? Why these students? And then throughout the sessions, like stopping to say, okay, stop and reflect and think. And Megan's on here. She's one of our trainers too. And we always talk about like this idea of like no yeah buts. Mm-hmm. And that is so hard for people to like wrap their minds around. Like when we start talking about comprehensive literacy, we always get, yeah, but you don't mean these kids, right? And so giving space to challenge our own thinking and to just ask better questions without the idea that we don't have the answers. Like we're not asking them because there is even a right answer. Mm-hmm. It's asking the questions to challenge people and ultimately sometimes make them feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I agree. Irene, you want to throw something in too?
Well, similarly in PDs, I tend to start them with the why. So get that thinking at the beginning of the PD, like, why are you here? Why do you do this? Share my why. I share that. There's a video of the man who's singing Amazing Grace. Do you guys know that video? Yeah, I'll share that. Oh, it's a fabulous video. It's really good at explaining why is important. The other thing I do is I read and look at a lot of things that come from marketing and business and try to pull. Those strategies are designed on why. So like looking at Sam Sennett's The Golden Circle and those things. And so I try to kind of apply those principles in with what I'm trying to teach. So I know it's kind of weird, but I just take this kind of business marketing frame to set up my teaching so that it can help people get there. Hopefully.
Yeah. Irene, I'm about to compliment you and say that's not weird at all. No, I don't think it is at all. I mean, this idea of looking at some of these business models, I mean, what are those models are designed to capture customers.
Right.
And the people that we're working with, you could argue, are customers, whether they're other educators, the learners we're working with, doesn't matter who they are. Those are our customers.
And like last time we talked about the idea that it's a teacher, the onus of learning is on the teacher to present it. And it's kind of like customer is always right. So the salesperson has to figure out how to make it right for the customer.
Right.
So I just think so much of it can apply. I also like a lot of is it Ed Rose who does myth of average
Mhm. Yeah.
and incorporating. There's more research in those fields and incorporating some of that stuff into what I'm doing.
I think those are great aspects to bring in. Yeah, it is funny, Irene, and I was looking at my shelf as you were talking, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. Those are the books that I start to buy. It's like, it's those kind of books. The one I just bought is called Belonging to the Brand, and I'm just trying to see how I can apply that to the work that we do, the brand being learning, I guess. And so I just think that's a really, that was not a book suggestion for all of you yet. I'm not ready to suggest it to anybody. I haven't read it. It's sitting in my basket. It has not even been opened.
And the brand could also be your like consulting business too. I mean, it can go both ways. It works on both ends of what we do.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's so it's so important to look at those, because it's not often that we find books like this one that fit very much in line with what we do. So you have to kind of find things and bend them a bit to your approach into how you're looking to provide your service. Our service is this experience, this learning experience with them. Yeah, I think this is great. I'm trying to see what my other little stickies were in this chapter. Other thoughts about this chapter?
I'm gonna throw out a book. I feel like Mike, you guys, like I'm woohoo throwing out a book. So we read this book. It's called Building a Story Brand. I don't know if anyone's ever read it. But they have a website where you can actually go through and like story brand essentially. And we were doing it for our professional learning opportunities. But in it, what really hit home for me is the fact that he talks about how like we aren't looking for a hero, like we want to be the hero of our own stories. So what we're really looking for is a guide who can kind of like show us the path, but then we can be the hero of our own story. And I think that's some of what coaching is too, is that we aren't necessarily like, we're not the hero. We're not supposed to be the hero. We're just the person that's coming in to say, you have the majority of the answers. I'm here to just help you think through this and how can we do better for ourselves, do better for kids. See, Carolyn's holding it up. And it's a really easy, like we did it as a staff. So like we walked through chapter by chapter and just kind of sat down and thought about it. And Mike, like you have got sticky notes all over in my book. And but yeah, when you talk about books that don't necessarily align, but also can, this is a really good one.
Yeah, I like that. All right, that's now open in my browser, and you have turned it on me. I will buy that when we're done. I will.
So Sarah,
I'm going to put this on the calendar. Like I'm going to mark down the day that I gave Mike Murata a book to buy.
That's right. You spent some of my money instead of the other way around. All right. What was your question, Mary?
Sarah, are you with Alt plus Shift or?
Yep.
Oh,
That's
okay.
a player.
I thought it was different people with different organizations. So,
Well, Carolyn and I both work for Alt Shift.
okay.
It's a Kindle Unlimited subscriber. That book that you just recommended is free with Kindle Unlimited.
Ooh.
There is
And it's-
something to that Kindle Unlimited, Irene. I agree. So then here it comes for everybody, for no one except Irene. Irene, this book is free for you too. There's the book I was just talking about. Sarah, I'm going to turn it right back on you. That was the book. I can't acknowledge that book is good yet, but that's the book I was talking about called Belonging to the Brand. That person has put out a handful of books that I found to be really helpful. I'm trying to look what they're called right now. His previous book was called Cumulative Advantage. Sorry. Good. I feel like I turned it around on Sarah. Ha.
Now my wheels are turning, Mike.
We're
Telling you.
so excited that we had a book.
I know. I'm gonna buy that book out of principle. I'll order it as soon as we're done because I want to see that book.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Other thoughts about this, if we continue to think about what does this look like? Because now we are in kind of that, this last chapter of the book is kind of about moving people along and having them take ownership of this. And potentially, when I think of this chapter, in the back of my head, I call this chapter my working myself out of a job chapter, right? I think this is like that moment. This is that moment in this conversation. Like, is there an opportunity here to ratchet back because the rest of the team is ratcheting up? And then I can be consultative to the team instead of kind of linchpin to move the team forward. And I don't know if I see people are shaking their head. Yes. So good. I'm not completely off base. That helps a little bit. I feel a little better now. So what do you do? What are some of your strategies for releasing the reins, taking the training wheels off, giving them a push down the street? What do you do?
So I just had a conversation with Carolyn before this
She
about
doing her dishes then too?
I was.
Just curious.
I was. Yep.
discussing some of the coaching that might need to happen at our house with our own husbands.
Ooh, this took a turn, and I'm looking at the list, and I could be the only representative of this group in the list. This is unfortunate.
Why the dishes are being done right now. Yeah. Uh-huh.
But we were just talking about how there's so much power to, instead of coming in and doing things for people that they totally can do for themselves, like coming in as that essentially is just that partner to kind of be the thought partner, and how like emotionally compelling it is for them to kind of sit down, develop their own lesson plan. And then I feel like, or action plan, that we don't have to like intentionally let the reins go because they've always been in the driver's seat. And they might circle back and be like, hey, yes, I ran in that direction and now this thing popped up. And I just want somebody else to come alongside of me as a thought partner. But it's never having to say, okay, now I did it. Now I'm going to give it to Mike, because they've always been in that driver's seat.
Yeah. I think some of this is about acknowledging or having them recognize they've always been in the driver's seat. I think they haven't been, maybe not until this point have they been ready to recognize themselves as the leader that they are in this conversation, in this learning experience. Thought partner, Hillary really likes that. Yeah, I think it's a great way to phrase that. I think that's awesome. I love this idea of just reminding people. I love the idea of reminding people in the beginning of some kind of experience like this that you are all the leaders. Look around. We are all leaders right now. And putting that, I don't know if I want to call that an expectation. Putting that out there to say like, no, you're here. You're part of this from the start. There's going to be an expectation that you take this and go with it. And how can we get ourselves all there so that we move forward and accomplish what you want to accomplish? Because it's not about what I want to accomplish. It's about what they want to accomplish. I always like that idea of saying, and they pointing out to them, my goal is to make sure you accomplish what you want to accomplish. That's the goal. I mean, that's how I go forward. How can we do that? What does that look like for you? How can I help you? What does my help look like for your experience?
So I'm here today because I listened to Sarah Lynn's All Means All podcast, and Mike, you were the guest, and you were talking about people don't have to be experts, but everyone has expertise. Yeah. And so it's reminding me of that line of thinking too. It's helping teachers and staff understand what their expertise is.
Yeah, I think so, Megan, right? I think it's that idea. And it's also, it's sometimes giving them this permission in some way to take their expertise and share it with others. There's not always opportunities in some of their learning experiences to demonstrate their expertise. Whether it's in a webinar or in a live event or in some kind of ongoing coaching experience. Sometimes those things have to be put out to people very, very deliberately, like, no, this is us. Like, what do you think? Yeah, and Hillary's dropping some bombs in the chat, some knowledge bombs, understanding it's never a done deal. We grow, we process, integrate, apply, repeat. Well said, Hillary. Agreed. So what do we do with this information? Well, we're at the end of this book. We've done it. Congrats. Now what? What is this? How does this tool, the tool that was this book, fit in your toolkit? And what does that look like as you go forward to apply some of this? I think a lot of us found that this book just reinforced some of the things we were already doing. And it's nice to see them in kind of the thing I was like, it's kind of a cohesive thought from start to finish with these 7 steps. And I do like that. Sometimes these disconnected thoughts in my own head, it's like, oh, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. But sometimes they lack a cohesion. If you know me, you know most things I do lack a cohesion at times. So it's getting them to that cohesive piece. And I think the structure of this book really helps with that, putting that thought together. So what does it look like? What do you do going forward? What do you do different going forward? What do you keep doing that you were doing? What do you stop doing that you were doing? I'll ask 14 questions and then I'll just stand here quietly.
Well, I think for me, because this book, I don't know when we first dug into this book, Mike, it's been like 2+ years.
It's been longer than that. If I could go back in my Amazon history, I've bought this book several times. And the first one was in, I think it was 2019.
Yeah, I want to say it was very pre-pandemic-ish.
Yes.
Period. And since then, I think like Mike, it's given structure to how I question and I work through that process in coaching somebody. I think the difference and where I've kind of leaned back into like the formal structure is with folks that are coming into the educational space without any background at all in education. I find my coaching for them is very different than coaching for a staff member who's maybe just been in our district for a very long time, but folks that are coming in either as brand new folks, teachers, first year, second year teachers, or folks who are coming in with like alt cert, this is second career kind of scenario. I feel like I have to lean back into that structure and that maybe that release is taking way longer. Like it's February and normally I'm not having to do as much modeling, continuous modeling for some. I feel like I lean back there, maybe not into every step of the steps, but like thinking through the process as a whole with them than I do with that we're doing like refining coaching. When I'm doing refining coaching, it's usually I'm nostering the heck out of the situation. When I'm doing like start to finish, it's more the 7.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, right? I think you're right. Depending on your the person you're interacting with. Yeah, I could see that some might need, or some groups might need the entire 7 steps to kind of get you there. But you're right, others who might have been there already, it might be a refresher into one of these steps or into one of these aspects of the bigger process. And maybe for some of them, it's just reminding them of the things we've already talked about again. Okay, remember, we've done these things. How do we apply that as we go forward? Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's happy. Alyssa, Carolyn's happy that you've nostering something. I agree. I like that that's been verbed. I'm a big fan of that. You've been nostered. I like it.
Well, but see, it's only really an internal term for me. And it's not like I'm in a conversation with somebody and I'm like using even any of the terminology. I'm internally nostering them as I'm coaching them.
You're not screaming out, get nostered.
Yeah, no.
You're missing resources.
Yeah, no, but it is. I find that that natural structure to the point where like I have print versions of it. One actually lives in the visor on my car. So as I'm like driving someplace and I'm thinking through a problem, but I don't really need it visually anymore. It's more when I'm thinking when somebody's coming, oh, here's a situation. I'm like, oh, well, like, tell me more about what you think they understand about the vision. Like, I'm like flowing it through and I know what's happening. And anybody who knows me that knows I
Knows what's
use Noster know what's happening. But in a coaching conversation, it doesn't necessarily been like verbalized in that way. So, but I think you have to have a certain rapport with that person in order to like use the nosterizing.
Yeah. Nosterizing.
I don't know. Hillary's throwing me off because I'm thinking of t-shirt designs now and I'm all in another different direction about.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. You know who's gonna have to design it. It's not gonna be me.
That's
Oh, I
right.
know.
Would like to pre-order that shirt.
I'll let you know when it goes up in the store.
Oh, Lord. That is funny. Yeah, I think there is, I think the nostering, the verbicizing of that to make it nostering, that's right, I call it verbicizing, is the same that, I think that I try to do a lot when I'm setting people, like asking those kind of questions to get them away from tools, and you're setting them. It's that same idea of walking them through a process internally in your head, but then verbalizing those prompts that get them to think slightly different about how they're approaching something, or to be able to identify what part is the sticking part for them. That's the nostering, is like, where are you? I've said it to some of you, what state of purple is that person in? Purple is the end result, frustrated, unsure, anxious, all of those purples in that noster chart. So the trick is to get them out of purple and figure out what you need to drop in there to get them back on track for the success. I think that's really critical. I like that idea of the one in your car. I had one at my desk, and again, Naomi's going to laugh. I was just in the office for the first time since we think September. It was Friday was the first day I was in the office since September because I had Christmas cards there and stuff for myself. So it must have been a while. And I thought I had a Noster picture on my desk, but I must have taken it down, which means I don't know where it is. I'm going to have to laminate a new one now. Bring it here.
Okay, so I had to Google Noster to know what you guys are talking about.
Ah.
But I know it. I just don't know who created that chart, right?
There's actually a hyphenated name for it. If you go back and dig through the research, Noster Senate, Noster, I don't remember what it is. It's in my Wakelet. I'll have to find the Wakelet link and I can put it in there.
Look, I'm trying to.
I think I'm amongst my people because that was hanging on my wall by my desk for years, and I've changed jobs a couple of times, and I need to put it back up. So good reminder. Thank you.
It's so good. It's so good. Here's a link to an article about it. It's the Lippitt Noster model.
There you go.
For managing complex change. I had to look it up because I couldn't remember either.
And here is the Wakelet of all things Noster.
All things.
Well, I don't know that it's all things.
When you open that Wakelet, you've officially been nostered.
Nah.
Why
So
don't
it's
you write on
actually
the front?
missing. It's
Right
actually
on the
missing
top,
the
get
two.
nostered.
I did not.
Can you?
I could. It's actually missing the two Noster models we did for our ATIA full day, but I will add them because I think they're just cleaner.
Yeah, I saw a Noster variant the other day. I don't know what I did with the picture I took of it. But they weren't talking about coaching. They were talking about something else. I saw the picture online. I'll have to continue to look for it and I'll try to add it to the Wakelet. It was inspired by the Noster model, which I thought was really kind of cool. But I don't know where it is now. Sorry. All right, so we can Nosterize people. We can work them through the 7 steps or the missing step they might have happening right at that moment.
Well, and I think it's a both. and for me. It's not necessarily an either or, because I think that there are times when they need a little bit of what I would do coaching wise through the 7 daily drivers, but then really what to get to like the fundamental, like what's like, maybe they go and they act on that and then they come back and like there's a block somewhere. Then I'm gonna dig into Noster and be like, oh wait, let's think through, like tell me more, and then I can kind of get to the piece of like, oh, all of the people you're working with are frustrated. Let's think through that. Or
Right. Everybody's anxious, or they're
yeah.
unsure, they're flat out mad about stuff.
But yeah, as soon as I started doing lots of going back to classrooms and schools, my thinking time is that transit between places, which is why it went back up on my my little dash area, just so that I was like, you know, I feel like it just, with most of the coaching I'm doing now, it's the biggest game changer in terms of how I problem solve, even with colleagues in my office, like as they're talking through things, like it's how I'm able to like come to the like, because we could just sit and complain all day long about things that we can't fix, or we could be like, okay, let's think through like reasonably, what else could we, what other angle could we try to attack this, whatever it was.
Yeah. I always like that starting point with the Noster is using it when, because people tend to reach out when things have gone wrong. So you're able to identify relatively quickly where they might be at in those steps. And then you can use that as a bit of a triage. You're like, oh, well, let's put something on the book to get together. But in the meantime, hey, how about I send you this? And this, whatever it is, might be that piece that they're missing, the skills, the vision, whatever it is that they're missing. And that could be a good first step to potentially getting them out of that state they're in. But more importantly, having them feel like there is some movement forward. Like, oh, well, I got to wait 2 weeks until you're here, or I got to wait until next week to have a conversation with you. You might be able to get them moving relatively quick in a direction. That helps them feel better about it. Awesome. I'm practicing my quiet sitting right now. What else? What else you want to say about this? Do people find this valuable? What we're doing with this book. I'm gonna go bigger level right now. Is this something that we continue to do? And if it is, are there books we should approach for this? And should it stay in this kind of coaching vein? A lot of questions there. Again, I'm doing them in bulk today.
Okay, so yes, it's helpful. What I really appreciate about it is that if I didn't get time to read the chapter, or I just chose not to read a chapter, I could still come and hear the conversation without feeling the pressure of, well, if you didn't read it, don't come. So I love just the subtle nuance, and we kind of take whatever direction we want to from it. I personally love coaching conversation, so I'm all on board for having more books in this realm, but would also be open to other books if there are. So yes, yes.
Those are
Full
multiple yeses.
I'm working with a Resna K-12 group,
Yeah.
and they're concentrating on how can we do an assessment protocol? And I've invited them to this meeting, but they haven't come yet. But I told them they could watch the YouTube. But because they need a bigger perspective on the whole thing, which they're not getting, and that's Resna K-12.
Why do you think, Mary, that they're not getting it?
Because they're trying to pin down an exact like Wyatt, or what can we do, or they're looking at all the states' different professional development teams, and what can we do to, produce this, paper, or, how to show other assistive technologists where to go, and for assistive technology, K-12, and they just don't see the bigger picture. They want specifics on Wyatt or set or
Mhm.
and they want it terse,
Well, you
like
just
one
nutshelled
page.
that very nice. Yeah. Well,
Alyssa's chat comment is spot on as being an ATP that was in a K-12 setting. Ask me.
yeah,
We know lots of people. We're all in ask us.
yeah.
But
And
their lack of desire to do so is why I am not a RESNA member, even though I have my ATP.
Ditto.
Mhm.
So yes, they put out a position paper, but I don't think they actually actively involved any of us doing the work.
I
And now I'll
agree.
turn my microphone off.
Yep. Yeah,
Well said.
I don't know that they're poo-pooing the idea of curriculum, educational technology is different than ATP, that type of thing, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I certainly would say, Mary, please invite them. I'd love to have them here as part of the conversation.
Yeah,
Why
I
wouldn't
have.
we?
I
Yeah, why
have, and I
wouldn't we
showed them
have
the
them?
links and everything, so.
Yeah. They are part of the group. We are part of their group. We are the
And
same
K-12
group.
is a new area to
Mhm.
RESNA. RESNA is like wheelchairs.
Mhm. Right. Yeah.
So it's like they got to change. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's been a lot of years and I haven't seen much change yet. So okay. Yes, but like anything else, I think that
well, I'm protesting because I didn't renew my ATP and my RESNA membership is gone in April, but there's a company that says that they'll pay for it for me. So.
yeah. I
But
continue
maybe
to
I'm telling them something. I don't know.
yeah. I think I think it's a really interesting conversation. I think that I don't know. Boy, look at me. I'm trying so hard to be diplomatic. I don't know if focusing your energy on designing a protocol is the most effective way to make change.
Exactly.
That's
That's
how
what
I'm
I'm
going to say
thinking.
it.
Yeah.
I think that is, and I think you're right, Mary, in a sense of missing the bigger picture and being stuck on a very small part of the picture. And I would think that in my mind, designing some kind of protocol is a very small part of the picture. Because I bet any one of us could explain, or any one of us who's done this in schools could share a situation where assessments have been done, yet nothing has happened and nothing has changed and no one was better off for it. I feel like I share those kind of stories a lot in presentations, and it gets to the point where I'm like, ooh, all right, I'm not horrible. I do know how to do my job. But I mean, I think that those are cautionary tales about not understanding the whole of the process and being just stuck on assess, recommend. Okay, fine, great. That gets you a part of the way there. That certainly does not get you
Well,
anywhere close to the answer.
what I told them was to couch it into MTSS because they do support that. So, I'm kind of asking them, well, let's couch it in MTSS terms and get a little broader view,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah. I mean, I think those things
I
are
mean, it's
great.
like baby step.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting. And I think just as an outsider looking in, and echoing what some of the other people have said in their conversation just now, is finding opportunities to bring other voices into the conversation doesn't always seem to happen.
Right.
And I know that I've participated in some conversations in the past that have not gone anywhere, and it felt like I felt like an unwanted visitor in the conversation, and so I took myself out of the conversation. And there's no way to make change there. But with that said, I would love to continue that chat. And look, we're a group. We come. There's a part of me that says, join this group. We're here every week. We keep showing up. Look at us. We keep showing up. And willing to have these pretty open conversations about stuff. And I appreciate the idea that all of you made very open and honest comments, knowing that we were recording this and knowing that I will post this up online. And I do appreciate that. And I think that you should be commended for that. And I think that that's part of the example of the kind of conversation that this group brings. And I think it's a very real, honest conversation. Alyssa refuses to turn her mic back on. It's so funny. There it
No,
is.
I
No.
mean, what I was gonna say was maybe it's a directed invitation to Cochrane to join and us have a special event for a
Special event.
conversation.
People like those.
You know, you like a special event.
Everybody likes a
so-
special event. All right. Is that now on my job list? I feel like it was. I feel like
Certainly
everybody's
not on
staring.
mine.
All right. It's on my job list. All right. Mary, let's put that on our job list together. All right. Nice. That's what I do, is I'm going to bring someone else into my job list. Okay. Okay.
Hillary has
Actually, that's a
another
good idea.
idea.
I think they might be open to converse. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's great. I would hope so. Why not?
And-
That's the way you get movement.
And if they're not,
Yeah.
Don't say another word. Just let it sit there. Don't say anything. All right, God, say it.
what does that say?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm looking at the books you guys threw in there. I agree. Listen, I'm not ignoring what you said. I'm agreeing with what you said by not saying anything else, but I am agreeing with what you said. Some of the books, Crucial Conversations, Start With Why, The Coaching Habit, Better Conversations. Okay. I mean, these are all great. And not just because I own most of them and I don't have to buy anything. I don't even care. It's fine. I'll buy them. I do own them. I do like that Coaching Habit book. Carolyn, I do like that book. Yeah, that blue and yellow one. That's another, when I think about how we've approached this book and talking about it, the thing that made the book we're just finishing so good is it had a small number of chapters and we could attack one or two each time. The Coaching Habit book is set up the similar way in that it's only a handful of chapters. It might be 7 or 8. And it might be another way we could approach this. Yeah, I do like it.
So are we gonna do that next time?
Dogs barking.
Right.
Go ahead,
I
talk
have
about it
put-
amongst yourselves.
I put in the chat that I do really like this and I found it really valuable, but I also miss the opportunity for brainstorming and looking at other things and kind of going off of Mike's random brain for conversations too. So I think it's Hillary's idea that we say, okay, once a month we do book study. And then the other times we maybe do something different or go to the other format.
I kind of flipped it once a month for like an open, kind of like AT chat, Mike, where once a month is open forum.
Oh, okay.
And then the rest are like book study / topics of interest / special events.
Yes. You can see that.
Okay.
Just a thought.
And I also, there's a part of it that like, I try to do AT chat. It is so stressful for me. Try to be that fast in the chat and do all those things that I like it when we end up discussing here some of the things that happened at chat. So it's kind of like that. What's a different way of getting that same information?
So Irene, I was just gonna throw this out there because I too found AT chats like insanely like, oh my gosh, because it's also bedtime.
Yeah.
But when I was in person with Mike and Carolyn, they were like, oh my gosh, you don't use TweetDeck?
TweetDeck is your friend.
For me, like, otherwise I can't do it. Like the days that I don't have access to my computer and I try to do AT chat, I get hives. But TweetDeck is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've used it before. For some reason, I thought it was gone, but
So no,
But
they just kind
obviously I
of
was wrong.
absorbed it. They kind of absorbed it into Twitter.
Yeah.
So when you're at TweetDeck, you see I've got like separate, kind of windows for everything that's hanging out. But the being able to schedule. So if you just come up here in my really slow computer, that little like icon right here allows you to schedule it for a future time and date. So I could schedule it for Wednesday. I don't know what the date is. Nope, that's not it. I could schedule it all the way out for Wednesday the 8th and schedule it for, that's why when Mike posts the questions, it's really important that the times are there. So you could.
That's
you
why I
could
put the
schedule it-
times there for
yeah.
exactly that. Yeah.
You could schedule it at 1 minute after he posts the question. And if the times all work out right, the question posts and then your answer post. But you can do everything you would normally do and just schedule it. And then you end up with kind of so when I'm live then at a chat, I just have the AT chat one open. And then if I want to, I have the scheduled so that I know when my tweet is kind of coming up next.
Yes.
That I can go in and I can just kind of grab in and participate. Then I can worry about participating and adding in comments without having to write a response at the same time.
Yes. What you
and
have just
even if I-
described is exactly how I manage the chat. I put my
Yeah,
own
even if
thoughts
I-
in and then just participate.
Yeah, even if I end up just drafting them ahead of time, sometimes that helps. Because then I just copy paste. If I draft my answers ahead of time when the questions come out, then I don't have to think about that part at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. And I can just think about the discussion part.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that too. Yeah. Usually if you were to see my tweet deck on a Wednesday night, it is, it's every one of those, it's the questions, it's those reminders to do things. All of that stuff is pre-programmed in, and that just happens so that I can share nonsensical animated GIFs as I move through, and I can really focus my energy on the important stuff to keep the chat going like that, like putting in wise guy comments. Like I got to do that in real time. Yeah, Mary, nothing really happened to the Discord. We haven't really done much on it. We used that as our safety net in case AT chat was not going to be able to happen or if Twitter was going to go away. So, it's still there. It's very quiet though. If you want to sign up, wait a second, I'll find you the link. For anybody who's not signed up, now that I've sold it so well, of some place to go that just means another window open on your computer that doesn't do anything. Give me a second. AT chat. Okay. There we go.
Future of user interface. They had a conference and they have a Discord link. And it was pretty interesting if you guys want to look at it, but I have to find the link.
So remind me, what did we decide on the book study idea as I walked away for a second?
Hillary was saying, yes, do it, but combine kind of like we have open chat once a month, kind of doing once a month book study, once a month brainstorming with then other weeks that are book study and or special events, so that it's not
Okay.
every week that it's a book study, but like there's time for open forum-y kind of discussions
Nice.
along with whatever other special event might get scheduled.
I like it. I think that's great. And by saying that, what Hillary has done has volunteered to run that. So that is fantastic. So great work, Hillary.
Thanks.
Thanks. All right. That didn't seem very convincing that she was going to run it. So, okay. She didn't even put her camera back on. She's like, thanks. That's it.
Yeah, I'm right on. I was eating. You don't want to see that. It's not good.
Oh, it's fine. All right. I like that idea. I think that's good. So maybe we'll look at
I
those
can-
couple book ideas. You guys want a poll for the book? You want me to throw a poll out there and see what people want to do as that next book? Do we want to pick one of those ones out of that group that were just thrown out here?
Could do it on
Leave
your,
it to me because I'll pick the
Twitter
one I
page.
like. So somebody else pick.
I wonder if you do it like a poll on your Twitter page, because I feel like there are some people who come to other meetings that aren't here today.
Yes.
and I would wanna
Okay.
make
So
sure
what
that
you're
they're
saying
aware
is
of
more
it.
work for me. Hold on.
Yep, always.
And the other, yeah, you can hear me. I'm like, am I unmuted or am I not?
No, you're good.
Thought I had to create more work for Mike today is also like if we have a place to just throw books, like book ideas for the future too. Because I know there are some great ones that were mentioned in the chat. There are others that are favorites that I would love to process through with other people. So that's why I keep doing this. My books are all right here. So if you keep noticing I keep doing this, it's because I'm looking to see if they're on the list yet. Yes.
It sounds like a wakelet.
Yeah.
It does kind of sound like a wakelet, doesn't it? Look at Alyssa. Now Alyssa's in. I might not even have to write that on my list. I think Alyssa might take that on. That was interesting to her. Come on, you know you want to.
I just like that it was mentioned and it wasn't me that mentioned it.
Sorry, Lisa.
But no, it just tells
Great.
me that the wakelet influence is growing. That just makes my wakelet heart happy. But yes, I can
I'm
make a
trying to
wakelet.
get
I
it to
actually,
catch on here, but
I actually already have a
David Clark.
wakelet that has coaching books in it. So I can just toss out a share link to that you guys can edit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That would be perfect. Yeah, that'd be perfect. Thank you.
I mean, honestly, if the question is there a wakelet that you have that, chances are the answer in my end is yes, because everything I do goes in a wakelet. So
Perfect. All right. And I'll pull the books that we mentioned in the chat right now into a poll. I'll put it up on Twitter and see what people choose. And we'll go from there. We'll see what gets the most votes. I'll leave it up for a week until next Monday. That way I can promote it bunches of times and schedule the tweet into my tweet deck and everything else for Wednesday. Okay. Alyssa will share the wakelet. I'll do that. Wednesday night is AT Chat this week. It is National AT Awareness Day. According to the AT Act projects, it is the AT Awareness Day. So we will celebrate that on AT Chat this week. So bring your stories, the way that AT has helped people and has been a positive influence in your community. We will share that.
Do you have a link to the AT chat? Or
No, if you just go to Mary, if you just go to Twitter
Oh,
on
yeah.
Wednesday night,
hash part? Okay.
yeah, there's and just use the hashtag AT Chat Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. My quick math says that's probably 5 o'clock your time.
No, 6.
That's why I live on the East Coast. I don't have to worry about this. Okay. There you go. I was so close. All right. Very
Oh.
good. All right. Alyssa, you're going to find a wakelet to drop in the chat? Okay. Other things before we go. Let me put in the link one more time for our webinar on Wednesday. We're doing a game time webinar. We're calling it Game Time at Lunchtime. And it is on our page here. Give me a second. I got to find it. If I wait long enough, Naomi will find it and she'll just put it in. Can I find it?
Wait, so the 8 p.m. and then you have a lunchtime one?
Yeah, the lunchtime one is on Wednesday this week. There it is. Naomi just put it in the chat. It's on our webinars page, and it is going to be Game Time at Lunchtime for AT Awareness Day. So it'll be a game. We were going to try to do one today, but we had this conversation. We didn't really get to it. That's okay. Well, we were going to use everybody
Naomi-
here as a guinea pig.
Naomi, oh, there you go. Thank
There it
you.
is. So we'll do games. We do have a couple prizes. We're convinced
Oh.
that prizes are the key to bring people in. So
Game
we have a
time
couple
event.
prizes. Yeah, see everybody. Yeah, I know. I get it.
Well, this is, okay, I see it.
Yeah, it'll take you there, and then you got to kind of dig through it to find it.
Okay.
So we do that on Wednesday. Wait, one other thing. Hold up. In case you didn't see. Tomorrow, so Tuesday, the 28th at 3 Eastern, we're hosting Sarah Gregory for the New Hampshire grant that I have. And she's going to do an AAC webinar. It is free. If you would like to come, there is the link to register in the chat. We would love to have you. I tend to wait until those just happen to make sure that my teams have enough time to get in and register before I open it up to everybody else. But hey, it's a free webinar. So if you're interested, great. If you can't come, don't worry. We will record it and we will post it up to our project website, which is this link, which you'll see all the other ones that are already done. All right.
Yeah, and I might have to tweet out the Wakelet link because I'm not able to put my fingers on it at this exact second. So
Okay.
I will tweet it out.
Perfect. We'll get that and we'll continue to add to it. And I will do the poll. I'll do that this afternoon. And we'll get that out too. Final thoughts before we go? Everyone, it's been a pleasure as always. Have a good rest of the week. We'll see you Wednesday for AT Chat. If not, we'll see you next week.
So long.
See ya.